بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أعزائي طلبة المرحلة الثالثة، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. في هذه المحاضرة سأقدم قراءة وتحليل لقصيدة My Last Duchess للشاعر الفيكتوري روبرت براونينغ. About the poem. My Last Duchess is the most well-known dramatic monologue of Robert Browning. The poem was published in the year 1842 in the third series of Bells and Pomegranate. The particular series was called the Dramatic Lyrics. It was the first time the world witnessed this poem, and the series also contained the Pied Piper of Hamelin, another famous poem written by Robert Browning. Setting of the poem. The poem is set in the Italian town Ferrara during the Renaissance period. The Duke who is the speaker is Alfonso II. He is the fifth Duke of Ferrara and he lived during the 16th century. The last Duchess is considered to be Medici, wife of Alfonso. Robert Browning portrays the character of the Duke with egoistic attitude and a man who likes to dominate the scene rather than getting deluged by the ideas of others. An emissary visits the recently widowed Duke, and the dramatic monologue begins. Poem analysis. In this stanza, Alfonso shows the painting of his deceased Duchess exhibited on the wall. He feels that the image is alive and remarks the painting as a remarkable achievement. He reveals that the artist is Fra Pandolf, who spent a day to complete the portrait. His artistry has resulted in the lifelike image of the Duchess, and he asks the emissary to examine the painting. The Duke acknowledges that whenever strangers look at the painting, they want to ask how the artist was able to achieve such depth in emotion, so he answers the emissary without a question being asked. The Duke is the only one who can unveil the curtain of the painting and answer the questions, as no one else is allowed to go near the painting. The poem immediately starts with the portrayal of Alfonso's last Duchess. The Duke is clear, crafty, and aware of the words he is about to utter. Browning reveals later in the poem that the emissary visits the Duke to talk about marriage proposals. The Duke walks him through to create an impression about him. In this stanza, Alfonso tries to explain the smile on the face of his wife with the use of imaginary claims. He thinks that Fra Pandolf might have said that the cloak of the Duchess covers the wrists, or remarking such beauty can never be reproduced by pens. The Duke says that such words were enough to produce a smile on her face, as she believed that they were the words of courteousness. She was the other one who would derive gladness from anything quickly. She admired everything, and her side could derive happiness from everywhere. The reader of the emissary does not know about the personality of the Duchess, but Alfonso creates such psychological impact with his words that one would believe that the Duchess was unfaithful. His cynical remarks on how his last Duchess would be blushing in creation to the words almost make it certain that she has sinful intentions in her mind. However, her childish nature is brought forth by Browning in lines 26 to 30. The Duchess is not unfaithful, but a woman with simple philosophy. Enjoy the life and the surroundings. Her attitude towards gifts and the beauty of nature shows that her easygoing lifestyle, which is not something one would expect from a duchess. Duke is too blind with his egoistic lifestyle that he doesn't even care to know how his wife thanked others. This has led to misconception that the Duchess is not worthy to advise, and the reader can perceive from his words that she is not worthy to understand the great lineage of the Duke's family. The contrasting behaviors of Alfonso and his wife are shown by Browning through the words of the speaker. This is an indicator of the mastery achieved by Browning in the use of dramatic monologue. Moreover, the Duke goes on to explain that three factors stood in his way for advising the Duchess. He claims his inability to deliver a good speech that can change the predicament of his wife. Even if achieves, it would be shameful if the wife gives out an excuse to escape. And lastly, Alfonso says that he will not be stooping down for anything. Conclusive remarks. Dramatic monologue is similar to soliloquy in drama, but Robert Browning in this poem has taken it to a more intimate level. His emphasis was always on the development of an individual, precisely psychological development. He has written many such poems, but My Last Duchess is the best of his dramatic monologues, for it depicts contrasting lives of a merry woman and a stern man. Another conclusive point is that Browning's poems are studies of a character. They are studies of the other people. The poet stands apart and gives his characters a platform and lets them speak to us. As they speak, they unfold their character. It was for this purpose that Browning invented a new genre of poetry known as dramatic monologue or dramatic lyric, and My Last Duchess is a good example. It has a few well-defined characteristics. It is a compromise between the drama, the soliloquy, and the lyric. The author keeps himself entirely in the background, and so it is essentially dramatic. As only one character speaks, it is a monologue. The monologue is essentially a lyrical, outpouring, or a subjective self-examination. My Last Duchess is one of the best dramatic monologues. It proves that Browning is a matchless master of this kind of poetry in the Victorian age. The poem reveals the poet's deep understanding of human character and capacity to present it in the most dramatic and impressive manner. As in the other monologues, here also the chief character is the speaker of the monologue himself. There is only one listener in the poem who does not speak anything at all. The dramatic situation and the presence of a listener is very subtly and cleverly suggested by occasional direct address made by the Duke to the Count's agent. Indirectly, we see his curiosity to take a look at the curtained portrait and then his desire to know how such an expression of intense joy happened to the face of the portrait. The poem is thus a very good example of a dramatic monologue. It is full of action, not merely a long soliloquy delivered by a character. It is a dramatic, however small the compass may be, and it projects before us a vivid picture of all the emotion natural to a character. This is a brief analysis of one of the notable poems written by Browning in the Victorian age. Thank you for your listening.